Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to the dry mill to see how coffee is processed for exporting. I am very excited about this. This is my first time going to the dry mill, and I'm very curious about the whole process of coffee when it goes from a cherry or parchment product to being in burlap sacks ready to be roasted and brewed. This mill is located up in the mountains in the Acatenango region of Guatemala, which is about a 2-hour drive from the city. The mill opened at 7, so we left at about 5:30 from the city to get there right when they opened. When we got there, just after 7, there was nobody there yet, which is fine, and also quite normal, which we didn't mind too bad because it gave us a little bit of time to wake up and have a quick snack before getting the day started. When the guys who worked there did start showing up, it still took some time before we even got started because they needed to clean the machine from the day before. I guess they had a dirtier coffee and they just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any carryover or dirt when starting to process our coffees. When you first enter through the front door, you walk through a hall and then into a very large warehouse. You can see here that there are tons of coffees and some machines in the background. Now this mill is also a farm, so from what I heard, most of the coffee that is already in this warehouse is all their own coffee. After checking out the warehouse, we moved to the dock where we unloaded some coffees that we had brought with us. You'll probably notice that the whole time we are here, we need to weigh out each coffee, before and after getting milled. It is important to know what our product loss will be, because starting out, we will have coffee beans with all the different layers with it, and by the end, we will just have raw green coffee beans. The percentage of weight that we lose from all these different layers can vary from each different type of coffee. Whether that be the varietal, because there are many different sizes of coffees, or processing, having just parchment, aka washed or honey coffees, or having both parchment and cascara skin, aka natural coffees. So, what we have going on here is that these guys are weighing out our first coffee to be milled and moving it over by the machine to start milling. We have about 12 bags of this coffee in cherry. This is a natural processed Tavi varietal. Something that I thought was interesting that I had heard from some producers here in Guatemala is that at the mill, it has been known to be a place where a producer's coffee gets swapped for a cheaper or lower graded coffee. It happens a lot with geishas and other varietals that are more expensive. This has been known to happen in Guatemala and in other countries, which is part of the reason we wanted to come check it out, but also because we are interested and curious about this whole process. Also, just a quick side note, these guys here are crazy. Check out what this guy can do. I mean, dang, up the ladder and everything, that's some total body strength and workout. And possibly also some back pain. So this first machine that the coffee is going through will separate the coffee's outer layer, aka cascara, from the green beans. Here we can see a very large vibrator plate that is trying to shake away the cascara skin from the green beans. And most of the cascara skin will fall into this sack here, and the green beans will go down a chute around the other side to be sorted by size. Next, we can take a look at the end of the machine, where we can see that the machine is shaking to separate the normal sized beans from the pea-berry sized beans, aka rejected and accepted. Then the beans will just stay in the chute, waiting until there is enough coffee to lift into the hopper of the next machine. Then, the process is repeated. It took about 10 minutes to process one whole bag of cherries. Since we are on a coffee farm, we definitely needed to take a quick coffee flower break because it's the time of year that they are in bloom and they're so beautiful. And with that, we have indeed moved on to the next machine. This machine was actually my favorite The coffee is lifted up into the hopper and then poured out on what looks kind of like a slanted table. This machine both shakes and blows air up through the coffee, which moves the coffee along the table. The heavier beans will move to the top of the slant and the lighter beans will slide down. The idea of this slanted table is that a lot of defects such as broken beans, black or sour, or if you can still see that there are some cascara in the mix, will get separated out from the accepted beans. At the end of this machine, we have 3 chutes. The one to the left is accepted beans to move on to the color sorter. The middle chute is for resorting, and the one to the right is rejected beans. These little gray wedges are also here to help adjust with each of these amounts. Here you can see the little baby stream of rejected beans. But as you can see, most of this coffee is going down the chute to get resorted. But here's what the coffee that's getting accepted to the color sorter looks like. Here you can see up close what this slanted table looks like. It's made up of small ridges that when air blows up through it, it helps move the coffee up the table. I really like this machine. I thought it was very interesting and really cool. We also pulled out some of the more interesting and obvious defects that you can see here. After some lunch, one of the producers that we work with came by to drop off some coffee that we had purchased from them. Going through the same process as before, unloading, weighing out each different coffee, and then moving it inside the warehouse. Back inside the warehouse, we are down to the last machine where the coffee will be passing through. This is the color sorter. So far, we have sorted the coffee by size and by weight. Now we're moving on to color. This machine uses little puffs of air and cameras to shoot at the defects as the coffee is falling into the sacks. Now we have a final, cleaned coffee bean product. The sacks are filled most of the way and then finished off by hand to the target weight. In this case, we are filling the bags to 69 kilos. After each bag has been properly filled to the desired weight, it is time to seal. First, we need to seal the plastic sacks inside the burlap sacks, and they do this by zip tying each plastic bag twice. Then we need to seal the burlap sack. They use this handheld industrial sewing machine thing. This part was so satisfying to me. Then we just need to repeat the process, weighing each bag to 69 kilos and then sealing them. And now we have our coffee all finished, from dried cherry to burlap sacks of green coffee ready for shipment. This is so cool. Of course, that's the fun part. Now we have to confirm ratios and see what the product loss was. We started out with 12 bags of cherries and ended with 3 69 kilo bags, 1.7-ish 46 kilo bag, and a few bags of defects and whatnot. Pretty crazy, right? Now it's time for a quick volcano viewing before moving on to the next and last coffee for the day. This next coffee is a natural process pacamara. Something that was very interesting about processing this coffee was that it was having a hard time going through the depulping process. The problem was that the cherries were too sticky. So the guys here put some green coffee dust on the dried cherries to help with the stickiness so that the cherries could move through the machine more easily. And of course, another little peek at the volcano, because it's just so pretty. It was interesting to see that this coffee was having a problem with broken beans more than the last coffee. This primarily has to do with the fact that this varietal is a lot bigger. We left the mill around 7 p.m. I didn't video anything for the rest of the night, but I was definitely happy to get some sleep. The next morning, we still needed to get an early start, but as you know, there's always time for coffee before coffee, and I loved our coffee situation here. When we got to the mill, the last few hours really consisted of sorting through the rejected beans of the pacamara from the night before. The reason was our ratio was not exactly what we thought it was going to be, and we needed every bit of good coffee that we could get from this coffee because it's expensive. To me, this is one of the most fun tasks to do because you can just kind of zone out and listen to some music. Then it was time to pack up samples to head back to the city. My friend was going to be leaving for SCA Coffee Expo, and we needed to get back to the roastery to roast some coffee samples that she was going to be taking with her. So they finished up some paperwork, and then it was time to head back. When we got back to the city, it was another late evening, but a fun one. And we got all the roasted samples finished, which concludes this 2-day adventure to the mill and back. If you're interested in coffee adventures or travel-related things, then I hope you'll stick around. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers!